Dr. Emma Clark stood at the window of the research ship Stellar Dawn, watching the stars move past. She had been working with alien scientists for 6 months now, and it still felt strange. The ship was huge, bigger than any building she had ever seen on Earth. Inside, creatures from 12 different worlds worked together. Emma was the only human on the science team. Most days, this made her feel alone. The other scientists were nice enough, but they thought humans were weak. They said humans were too soft, too gentle for real space work. Emma tried not to let it bother her, but sometimes it was hard. The ship's alarm started ringing. Emma ran to the main deck where everyone was gathering. Commander Zex Thule stood in the center of the room. He was tall and thin, with 4 arms and a face that looked like a praying mantis. His kind, the mantids, were known for being tough and direct. "We have received a distress call," Zex Thule announced. His voice was loud and sharp. "A science team has gone missing on planet Kepler 442c. They were studying the local predators called shadow hunts. We must find them." Emma knew about shadow hunts from the files. They were cat-like creatures, with sharp claws and teeth. Every time aliens tried to study them, the shadow hunts attacked. No one had ever made peaceful contact with them. "Dr. Vorthak will lead the science team," Zex Thule continued. Dr. Jock. Vorthak was a lizard-like alien with green scales and yellow eyes. "Lieutenant Morrison will handle security." Jake Morrison was the only other human on the ship. He was a soldier, quiet and smart. Emma raised her hand. "Commander, I would like to join the mission." The room went quiet. Several aliens made clicking sounds, which Emma knew meant they were laughing. Zex Thule's 4 arms crossed over his chest. "Dr. Clark, this is a dangerous mission. The shadow hunts are apex predators. They have killed before." "That's exactly why you need me," Emma said. "I study animal behavior. Maybe I can figure out why they attack." Dr. Vorthak stepped forward. His forked tongue flicked out as he spoke. "Commander, humans are not suited for this work. They lack the proper instincts. Where we see danger, they see pets." Emma felt her face get hot, but she kept her voice calm. "With respect, Dr. Vorthak, maybe that's exactly what we need. A different way of looking at things." Jake Morrison spoke up from the back of the room. "I agree with Dr. Clark. Human perspectives have helped before." Zex Thule looked at both humans for a long moment. His compound eyes reflected the ship's lights. "Very well. But you will follow my orders exactly. No human sentiment will put this mission at risk." 2 hours later, Emma was strapping herself into a landing shuttle. Jake sat across from her, checking his equipment. Dr. Vorthak and 2 other alien scientists filled the remaining seats. Commander Zex Thule piloted the craft himself. As they flew down to the planet's surface, Emma studied the files on her tablet. The missing team had been led by Dr. Alan Cooper, a human who specialized in dangerous wildlife. His team included 3 aliens and 2 other humans. They had been silent for 4 days. "The planet has high oxygen levels," Dr. Vorthak explained. "The gravity is slightly less than Earth normal. The shadow hunts live in the crystal forests near the equator." Emma looked out the shuttle window. The planet below was beautiful. Purple and blue plants covered most of the land. Strange crystal formations jutted up from the ground like frozen lightning. "Tell me about the shadow hunts," Emma said. "Apex predators," Zex Thule replied without turning around. 2 meters long, powerful legs, excellent night vision. They hunt in packs of 5 to 8 individuals. Highly intelligent, but completely hostile to outsiders. "Have we tried communicating with them?" Dr. Vorthak made a hissing sound. "Of course." Standard protocols were followed. Loud vocalizations, displays of strength, clear territorial boundaries. They responded with violence every time. Emma frowned. Something about that bothered her, but she could not put her finger on what. The shuttle landed near the missing team's camp. Emma could see their equipment scattered around, but no signs of the people. Tents were torn, and strange claw marks covered the metal containers. "Weapons ready," Zex Thul ordered as they stepped out of the shuttle. Shadow hunts could be anywhere. The air smelled like flowers and rain. Emma heard strange bird-like sounds in the distance. The crystal trees around them hummed softly in the wind. Jake Morrison knelt by the largest tent. "No blood," he reported. "Looks like they left in a hurry, but I don't see signs of a fight." "The shadow hunts took them," Dr. Vorthak said. "Probably for food." Emma walked around the camp, looking at everything carefully. Her training had taught her to notice small details. Near the edge of the campsite, she found something interesting. "Look at this," she called to the others. In the soft dirt, she could see tracks. They were like cat prints but smaller than she expected. Much smaller. "Adult shadow hunts would make tracks twice this size," she said, pointing to the ground. Zexthul examined the prints with a handheld scanner. "You are correct. These appear to be juvenile tracks." "Babies," Emma whispered. "What did you say?" Dr. Forthak demanded. "These are baby tracks." "Young ones. If there are babies around, the adults might be acting defensive, not aggressive." Jake Morrison came over to look. "On Earth, most animal attacks happen when people get too close to young ones." Dr. Vorthak made a dismissive gesture. Age makes no difference, but Emma was already following the small tracks. They led away from the camp, toward the crystal forest. The tracks were easy to follow, in the soft ground between the trees. "Dr. Clark, stay with the group," Zexthul ordered. "The missing team might have followed these same tracks." Emma called back. "If we want to find them, we need to think like they did." The tracks led deeper into the forest. The crystal trees grew taller here, their surfaces reflecting rainbow colors in the sunlight. The humming sound got louder. After 20 minutes of walking, Jake Morrison held up his hand for everyone to stop. They all listened. From somewhere ahead came a low, rumbling sound. It was not quite a growl, not quite a purr. "Shadow hunts," Dr. Forthak hissed. Emma listened more carefully. The sound came in short bursts, then stopped, then started again. "It sounds distressed," she said. "Distressed?" Zexthul's voice was sharp. "It sounds hungry." But Emma was already moving forward, following the sound. Her instincts told her something was wrong. This was not the sound of a hunting predator. This was something else entirely. The tracks led to a rocky area where several large boulders had fallen. Between the rocks, Emma could see a dark opening. The cave entrance was partially blocked by fallen stones. The distressed sounds were coming from inside the cave. "They're trapped," Emma said, understanding suddenly. "Whatever's in there, they can't get out." Zexthul raised his weapon. "Perfect. We have them cornered." But Emma was thinking about those small tracks, about baby animals separated from their parents. She had a feeling they were about to make a terrible mistake. Emma moved closer to the cave entrance, while the others hung back. The opening was just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Large rocks had fallen and blocked most of the entrance, but not all of it. The sounds from inside were getting louder. Emma could hear scratching noises, like claws on stone. Something was definitely trapped in there. "We should use the sonic blasters," Dr. Vorthak suggested. "Clear out whatever is inside." "No," Emma said quickly. "We don't know what we're dealing with yet." Commander Zexthul stepped forward. His forearms moved as he prepared his equipment. "Stand back, Dr. Clark. I will handle this with proper authority." Zexthul moved to the cave entrance. He clicked his mandibles together loudly, making a sharp clicking sound. Then he raised his voice and shouted into the cave. "Attention. Creatures inside. This is Commander Zexthul of the Galactic Council. Come out immediately and submit to our authority. We will not harm you if you obey." The response was instant and terrifying. From inside the cave came the loudest hissing Emma had ever heard. It was high-pitched and angry, like 1,000 snakes all hissing at once. The sound made everyone step back except Emma. She stayed close, watching and listening. "You see?" Dr. Vorthak said. "Pure aggression. They understand only force." But Emma noticed something the others missed. The hissing had started the moment Zexthul raised his voice. It was not just loud. It was desperate. "Try again," Dr. Vorthak urged the commander. "Show them we are not afraid." Zexthul made his clicking sounds even louder. He banged his weapon against a rock to make more noise. "I am Commander Zexthul. You will obey me." The hissing got worse. Emma could hear other sounds too. Scratching, like something trying to dig. Small whimpering noises between the hisses. "Wait," Emma said. She knelt down and looked through the gap in the rocks. The cave was dark, but her eyes slowly adjusted. What she saw made her gasp. 3 small shapes huddled together in the back of the cave. They were about the size of house cats, with sleek bodies covered in what looked like fur. But the fur was glowing. Stripes of light ran along their sides, pulsing with bright red colors. "Oh my God," Emma whispered. "They're babies." "What?" Jake Morrison knelt beside her to look. 3 cubs. They can't be more than a few months old. Emma could see them more clearly now. They had large eyes and small, pointed ears. Their faces were more kitten-like than the fierce predator faces she had seen in the files. "Impossible," Dr. Vorthak said. "Shadow Hunt young are kept in secure dens, never left alone." But Emma was right. The 3 cubs were pressed against the back wall of the cave, their glowing stripes flashing bright red. Their small mouths were open, showing tiny sharp teeth as they hissed. "They're scared," Emma said. Zexthul made another loud clicking sound. "Surrender now, and we will not harm you." The cubs pressed themselves even flatter against the wall. Their light stripes were flashing so fast they looked like alarms. Emma watched their body language. Everything about them screamed fear. Their ears were flat against their heads. Their bodies were low to the ground. They were not preparing to attack. They were trying to make themselves invisible. "Commander, please stop making noise," Emma said. "Dr. Clark, these are dangerous predators. Even young ones can kill." "Look at them," Emma insisted. "Really look. They're not being aggressive. They're terrified." Jake Morrison was studying the cubs too. "She's right. On Earth, scared animals act just like this. They try to look big and dangerous when they're actually helpless." Dr. Vorthak scoffed. "Human thinking. You see weakness everywhere." "I see 3 babies separated from their parents," Emma replied. "The missing team probably found them the same way. Maybe the adults took our people to protect the cubs." "Ridiculous," Dr. Vorthak said. "Shadow hunts kill first and ask questions later." But Emma was thinking hard. What if the adults had not attacked the research team? What if they had just tried to get them away from the babies? "How did these rocks fall?" she asked, looking at the cave entrance. Jake Morrison examined the stones. "Recently, I can see fresh chips. Something made these fall in the last few days." "The earthquake readings," Emma said suddenly. "The mission files mentioned seismic activity when the team first landed." "So?" Dr. Vorthak asked. "So these cubs got trapped by accident. The rocks fell during an earthquake, and now they can't get out. Their parents are probably searching for them." 2020-2012. 3 said, "The Nairman." The cubs made soft mewing sounds between their hisses. They sounded hungry and tired. "The adults might have thought our research team caused the rock fall." Emma continued. "If they took our people, it might not be to hurt them. It might be to make them fix this." Zexthul considered this. "Even if that were true, we cannot simply free dangerous predators. They're babies," Emma said again. "Dr. Clark, you are letting emotion cloud your judgment," Dr. Vorthak warned. "These creatures will grow up to be killers." Emma looked at the 3 small shapes in the cave. One of them was smaller than the others, probably the youngest. It was making tiny squeaking sounds. "All babies are innocent," she said quietly. Jake Morrison stood up. "What's the plan, Commander?" "We use standard containment protocol," Zex Thul decided. "Neural suppressors to subdue them safely. Then we relocate them away from any populated areas. That will traumatize them even more," Emma protested. "Dr. Clark, your concern for these creatures is noted. But we must think practically." Emma watched the cubs huddled together. The smallest one was now barely making any sound at all. It looked weak. "How long have they been trapped?" she asked. "Based on the rock fall, probably 3 or 4 days," Jake Morrison answered. "They need water. Food." Emma's voice was urgent. Dr. Vorthak pulled out a neural suppressor device. It looked like a small cannon with wires attached. "This will render them unconscious safely." "Please don't," Emma said. "Just give me a few minutes. Let me try something different. Dr. Clark, we do not have time for human experiments." "5 minutes," Emma begged. "If it doesn't work, you can proceed with the neural suppressors." Zex Thul looked at his device, then at Emma. Something in her voice made him pause. "What exactly do you propose to try?" he asked. Emma looked at the cubs again. Their light stripes were still flashing red, but slower now. They were getting tired. "I want to try talking to them," Emma said. The silence stretched for several seconds. "Talking," Dr. Forthak repeated. "Yes, but quietly. The opposite of what we've been doing." "That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard," Dr. Vorthak said. But Jake Morrison was nodding. "It might work. Human-animal trainers use quiet voices all the time. These are not domestic animals," Zex Thul pointed out. "No. But they're still young. Young animals everywhere respond to certain things. Gentle sounds. Non-threatening movements." Quote. Emma was already moving toward the cave entrance. "Just 5 minutes. What do we have to lose?" Zex Thul raised his weapon. "If they attack, I will fire." "They won't attack," Emma said, hoping she was right. "They're too scared." She knelt by the cave entrance and took a deep breath. Inside, the 3 cubs watched her with large, frightened eyes. Their glowing stripes pulsed red, like tiny warning lights. Emma made her decision. She was going to try something that no alien had ever attempted with shadow hunts. She was going to whisper. Emma sat down slowly near the cave entrance. The cubs inside stopped hissing for a moment, watching her with wide eyes. She could see their light stripes changing from bright red to a dim orange. "What are you doing?" Dr. Vorthak whispered harshly. "Being quiet," Emma whispered back. "Watch their lights." She was right. As soon as the talking stopped, the cub's stripes began to dim. The youngest one, who had been barely moving, lifted its head slightly. "Interesting," Zex Thul murmured, his compound eyes focused on the cubs. "Their bioluminescence is responding to sound levels." Emma nodded slowly, keeping her movements small. She had worked with frightened animals on Earth many times. The principles should be the same everywhere. "Dr. Clark," Dr. Vorthak said in his normal voice. Immediately, the cub's stripes flashed bright red again. They pressed themselves back against the cave wall, hissing. "Stop talking loudly," Emma said, in barely a whisper. Dr. Vorthak looked annoyed, but he lowered his voice. "This is meaningless. We are wasting time." As soon as he spoke quietly, the cub's lights dimmed again. The hissing stopped. "It's not meaningless," Jake Morrison said softly. "Look at them. They're responding to our voice volume." Emma felt excitement building in her chest. This was like working with abused cats at the animal shelter back home. The same fear. The same defensive reactions. "Most galactic protocols use loud voices to show authority," she whispered to her teammates. "What if that's exactly what scares them?" "Impossible," Dr. Vorthak hissed quietly. "Predators respect only strength." But Emma was thinking about Earth animals. Bears, wolves, big cats. They all used loud roars and growls to threaten enemies. What if the shadow hunts were different? What if their species communicated quietly? She watched the cubs more carefully. The youngest one was definitely sick or weak. It kept closing its eyes and laying its head down. The other two were trying to protect it, positioning themselves between their sibling and the humans. They care about each other, Emma said quietly. Zexthul moved closer to examine them. No, Emma said. This is different. Look at how the bigger ones are trying to shield the little one. That's not pack-hunting behavior. That's family. The middle-sized cub made a soft sound, almost like a purr. It was looking directly at Emma. I think it's trying to communicate, Emma whispered. Dr. Vorthak made a dismissive gesture. Dr. Clark, you are anthropomorphizing. These are wild animals, not pets. But Jake Morrison was listening carefully. There are patterns in the sounds they're making, different tones for different situations. Emma agreed. When Zexthul had shouted at them, they had hissed in high, sharp tones. When the cave was quiet, they made lower, softer sounds. The youngest one was making tiny squeaking noises that sounded like distress calls. I think the youngest one is calling for its mother, Emma said. As if in response to her words, a distant sound echoed through the crystal forest. It was deep and powerful, like a lion's roar, but different, more melodic. All three cubs immediately perked up. Their stripes changed to bright blue, and they made excited chirping sounds. Adult shadow hunt, Zexthul said, raising his weapon. No. Wait, Emma said urgently. Listen to how the cubs are responding. They're happy. That must be their mother. The roaring sound came again, closer this time. The cubs tried to move toward the cave entrance, but they were too weak. The little one could barely stand. She's looking for them, Emma realized. The mother is calling, and they're trying to answer. Dr. Clark, we need to leave immediately, Dr. Vorthak said. An adult shadow hunt will kill us all. But Emma was putting pieces together in her mind. The research team. They probably heard the cubs calling for help and came to investigate. When the mother found them near her babies, she took them. Took them where? Jake Morrison asked. Somewhere safe, away from the cubs. She was trying to protect her young. Another roar echoed through the forest, much closer now. The cubs responded with louder chirping sounds. We have to help them reunite, Emma said. Absolutely not, Dr. Vorthak declared. We should use the neural suppressors now, before the adult arrives. If we do that, she'll never trust us, Emma argued. She'll think we're threatening her babies. Zexthul was calculating quickly. Dr. Clark, your theory is interesting, but we cannot risk our lives on speculation. It's not speculation, Emma said firmly. Look at the evidence. The cubs are trapped by accident. They're calling for their mother. She's searching for them. Our people probably got caught in the middle. The roaring came again, very close now. They could hear heavy footsteps moving through the crystal trees. Dr. Clark, Jake Morrison said quietly, if you're wrong about this, we're all dead. Emma looked at the three cubs in the cave. The youngest one had managed to stand up and was pressing against the rocks, trying to reach the entrance. Its tiny claws scratched helplessly at the stone. I'm not wrong, she said. These are babies who need their mother. Everything else is secondary. Dr. Vorthak raised his neural suppressor. Commander, we must act now. Well, but Emma was already moving. She knelt right at the cave entrance and began working at the loose rocks with her hands. Dr. Clark, what are you doing? Zexthul demanded. Helping, Emma said simply. The footsteps were getting closer. Through the crystal trees, they could see something large moving. The adult shadow hunt was almost upon them. You are going to get us all killed, Dr. Vorthak hissed. But Emma kept working at the rocks. Her hands were getting scraped and bloody, but she kept pulling at the loose stones. A few small rocks came free, making the opening slightly larger. The cubs inside became very excited. They pressed forward, trying to squeeze through the gap. "Emma, it's too late," Jake Morrison said. "She's here." Through the crystal trees stepped the largest predator Emma had ever seen. The adult shadow hunt was massive, easily 2 meters long, and powerfully built. Her fur was dark with stripes of purple and blue light running along her body. But Emma noticed something important. The adult's stripes were not red like the cubs had been when they were afraid. They were blue and purple, the same colors the cubs showed when they heard her calling. The mother shadow hunt saw the humans near her baby's prison and roared. But it was not the aggressive roar of an attacking predator. It was the desperate cry of a mother who had found her lost children. Emma looked up at the massive creature and made the most important decision of her life. Instead of running or reaching for a weapon, she whispered. "It's okay," she said so quietly that even her teammates could barely hear her. "We're trying to help." The adult shadow hunt stopped roaring. Her huge head tilted to one side, and her glowing stripes shifted to a curious green color. For the first time in galactic history, a human and a shadow hunt were looking at each other without fear or aggression. "They fear loud voices," Emma whispered to her companions. "Just like their babies do." The mother shadow hunt stood perfectly still, watching Emma. Her massive form could have crushed any of them in seconds. But she made no aggressive moves. Her light stripes pulsed with soft green and blue colors. Emma kept her voice at the barest whisper. "We want to help your babies." The great cat's ears swiveled forward. She was listening. Behind Emma, she could hear Dr. Vorthak breathing heavily. She knew he still had his neural suppressor ready. One wrong move, and he would fire. "Don't shoot," Emma whispered without turning around. "She's not attacking." The mother shadow hunt took a step closer. Emma could smell her scent now, like pine trees and rain. The creature's eyes were intelligent and alert, but not hostile. From inside the cave, the cubs began making excited sounds. They had heard their mother's voice and were trying desperately to reach her. Emma very slowly reached for another loose rock. The mother watched her hands carefully. "I'm going to help them get out," Emma whispered. She pulled at a medium-sized stone. It came free with a grinding sound, making the opening a little bigger. The smallest cub immediately tried to squeeze through, but it was still too narrow. The mother shadow hunt made a low sound in her throat, almost like a question. Emma looked up at her. "Your little one is sick. How long have they been trapped?" Of course, the great cat could not answer in words, but her light stripes flickered to darker colors, and she looked toward the cave with obvious worry. Emma understood. Too long. They had been trapped too long. She worked at more rocks, pulling them free one by one. Her hands were bleeding now, but she ignored the pain. Jake Morrison moved closer to help. "Slowly," Emma warned him. "Let her see what we're doing." Jake knelt beside her and began working at the rocks from the other side. The mother shadow hunt watched both humans carefully, but her stripes remained calm, blue and green. "This is madness," Dr. Vorthak whispered. "She could kill you both." But Emma noticed something wonderful. As they worked to free her cubs, the mother's light stripes were getting brighter and more colorful. Not aggressive red, but warm yellows and oranges. "She's grateful," Emma realized. "Look at her lights." It was true. The great cat was showing colors that Emma had never seen in any of the files about shadow hunts. Beautiful, warm colors that seemed to glow with happiness. After 10 minutes of work, the opening was wide enough. The first cub squeezed through and ran straight to its mother. The great cat bent down and nuzzled her child, making deep, purring sounds. The second cub followed quickly. But the smallest one was too weak to climb over the remaining rocks. Emma looked at the little cub, then at its mother. The great cat's eyes were full of worry. "I have to go in and get her." "Absolutely not." Zexthul spoke for the first time in several minutes. "She's dying," Emma said simply. "Look at her." The smallest cub was lying on its side now, barely breathing. Its light stripes were very dim. Emma looked at the mother shadow hunt. "May I help her?" The great cat seemed to understand. She stepped back and made a soft sound, like permission. Emma squeezed through the cave opening. Inside, she could see how cramped and dark it had been for the cubs. There was no water, no food. They had been slowly starving. The little cub opened its eyes when Emma knelt beside it. It was so weak it could not even hiss. "Hey, baby," Emma whispered. "Let's get you to your mama." She scooped up the small creature very gently. It weighed almost nothing and felt fragile in her arms. Its fur was incredibly soft, and its light stripes pulsed weakly against her hands. Emma carried the cub to the cave entrance. Jake Morrison helped her climb out with her precious burden. The moment Emma emerged with the youngest cub, the mother shadow hunt made a sound unlike anything they had heard before. It was part roar, part purr, part cry of relief. Her whole body glowed with brilliant golden light. Emma walked slowly toward the great cat and knelt down, still holding the weak cub. "She needs food and water," Emma whispered. The mother shadow hunt leaned down and very gently took her baby from Emma's arms. Her massive jaws could have crushed the tiny creature, but she handled it with perfect care. Then something amazing happened. The great cat looked directly at Emma and made a soft sound. It sounded like gratitude. "You're welcome," Emma whispered back. The mother gathered all three of her cubs close to her body. The two stronger ones pressed against her warm fur, and she held the weak one carefully in her mouth. But instead of leaving immediately, the great cat did something unexpected. She looked at each of the humans and made a series of soft sounds, different tones for each person. "She's trying to communicate," Jake Morrison said quietly. Emma listened carefully. The sounds the mother made were complex, almost like a language. When she looked at Emma, the tones were warm and friendly. When she looked at Jake, they were respectful. But when she looked at Dr. Vorthak and Zex Thule, the tones were cooler, more cautious. "She can tell the difference between us," Emma realized. "She knows we're not all the same." The mother shadow hunt made one final sound, a long melodic call. Then she began to move away through the crystal trees, carrying her cubs to safety. But after a few steps, she stopped and looked back at Emma. She made another soft sound, clearly meant for the human woman who had saved her babies. "What is she saying?" Dr. Vorthak asked. Emma smiled, even though her hands hurt and she was exhausted. "I think she's saying thank you. And maybe something else." "What?" Emma watched the great cat disappear into the crystal forest with her family. "I think she's telling me where to find our missing people." The sound the mother had made before leaving was not random. It was directional, pointing deeper into the forest. "She's going to lead us to them," Emma said with certainty. Jake Morrison checked his equipment. "Should we follow?" Emma looked at her teammates. Dr. Vorthak still held his neural suppressor, though he had not fired it. Zex Thule was staring in the direction the shadow hunts had gone, his compound eyes reflecting deep thought. "Commander?" Emma asked. Zex Thule was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone. "Dr. Clark, your methods are highly unorthodox, but they appear to be effective. Does that mean we follow her?" "It means," Zex Thule said slowly, "that perhaps humans have something to teach the galaxy about communication." Emma felt a warm glow in her chest. It was the first time any of her alien colleagues had admitted that human approaches might be valuable. "The missing team," she said. "They're still out there." "Then we follow the shadow hunt," Jake Morrison said. As they gathered their equipment and prepared to move deeper into the crystal forest, Emma thought about what had just happened. For the first time in galactic history, a shadow hunt had trusted an alien species, all because someone had finally tried whispering instead of shouting. The mother shadow hunt led them through the crystal forest for almost an hour. She moved slowly, making sure they could follow. Every few minutes, she would stop and make soft calling sounds, waiting for them to catch up. Emma noticed that other shadow hunts were watching them from among the trees. She could see glowing stripes in the shadows, but none of the creatures approached. They seemed curious, but cautious. "How many are out there?" Jake Morrison asked quietly. "At least a dozen," Emma whispered back. "But they're not threatening us." "Look at their colors." She was right. The hidden shadow hunts all showed blue and green lights, the same calm colors the mother had displayed. No red warning lights, no aggressive postures. "They're all using quiet communication," Emma observed. "I don't think this species uses loud sounds except when they're scared." Dr. Vorthak was struggling with this idea, but every report says they're violent and aggressive. Every report involved aliens using standard galactic protocols, Emma pointed out. Loud voices, displays of dominance, territorial challenges. What if all of that was just scaring them? Commander Zex Thule was thinking hard as they walked. "Dr. Clark, are you suggesting that every first contact attempt with the shadow hunts failed because we approached them incorrectly?" "That's exactly what I'm suggesting." They reached a large clearing, where the crystal trees formed a natural circle. In the center was something that made Emma's heart jump with relief. The missing research team was there, all 6 of them, sitting around a small fire. They were alive and appeared unharmed. Dr. Alan Cooper, the team leader, stood up as the rescue party entered the clearing. "Thank God," he called out. "We've been waiting for you." But Emma noticed something strange. Dr. Cooper was speaking in a normal voice, but immediately several shadow hunts around the clearing made soft, shushing sounds. "Quiet," Dr. Cooper said quickly, lowering his voice to a whisper. "They don't like loud noises." Emma smiled. The research team had figured out the same thing she had. Dr. Lisa Yang, the team's biologist, came over to greet them. "We've been living with them for 4 days," she whispered. "It's been incredible." "Living with them?" Dr. Vorthak sounded shocked. "They're not violent at all," Dr. Cooper explained quietly. "When we first arrived, we used standard contact protocols. Loud announcements, territorial displays. The shadow hunts responded aggressively because they thought we were threatening them." "What changed?" Emma asked. "The earthquake," Dr. Yang said. "When the rocks fell and trapped the cubs, everything changed. We tried to help, and the adults realized we weren't enemies." Dr. Cooper gestured to the shadow hunts around the clearing. "They've been taking care of us, bringing us food, making sure we're safe. We've learned more about their species in 4 days than the galaxy has learned in 50 years. Emma looked around the clearing. Adult shadow hunts moved quietly between the trees, some carrying food, others tending to young ones. It looked like a peaceful community, not a pack of dangerous predators. "They have language," Dr. Yang continued excitedly. "Complex communication through sound patterns and bioluminescence. They're incredibly intelligent." One, the mother shadow hunt that had led them here, approached Dr. Cooper. She made a series of soft sounds, and he nodded. "She says thank you for freeing her cubs," Dr. Cooper translated. "She wants to know if the little one is okay." Emma was amazed. "You can understand them?" "Basic concepts," Dr. Cooper admitted. "Dr. Yang is much better at it than I am." Dr. Yang knelt down as the mother shadow hunt approached. The great cat made gentle sounds, and Dr. Yang responded with similar tones. "What did she say?" Jake Morrison asked. "She said the smallest cub is recovering, and she wants to show us something important." The mother shadow hunt led them to another part of the clearing. Here, the crystal formations were different. They formed natural resonating chambers that amplified quiet sounds while dampening loud ones. "This is how they communicate across long distances," Dr. Yang explained. "Whispered sounds travel through the crystal network. Loud sounds get absorbed and scattered." Emma understood immediately. Their whole world is designed for quiet communication. Loud noises probably hurt their ears and disrupt their language. "Every time we've tried to contact them with standard protocols, we've essentially been screaming in their faces," Dr. Cooper added. Commander Zex Thule was examining the crystal formations with new interest. "Fascinating. A species that evolved communication technology using natural resources. Several young shadow hunts approached the group. Unlike the cubs they had rescued, these were older, about the size of large dogs. Their light stripes showed bright, curious colors. One of them approached Emma directly and made soft questioning sounds. "She's asking about you," Dr. Yang translated. "She wants to know how you learned to speak quietly to her people." Emma knelt down to be at the young shadow hunt's eye level. "Tell her that where I come from, we learned that scared animals respond better to gentle voices." Dr. Yang made a series of soft sounds. The young shadow hunt's stripes brightened with what looked like delight. "She says humans must be very wise to understand this," Dr. Yang reported. Dr. Vorthak was still struggling with everything he had witnessed. "But how do we explain this to the Galactic Council? 50 years of failed contact attempts, and the solution was simply to speak quietly?" "We tell them the truth," Emma said. "That different species communicate in different ways. That our standard protocols don't work for everyone." Jake Morrison was thinking tactically. "The Shadow Hunts have obviously been watching galactic ships for years. They probably know more about us than we know about them." Dr. Cooper nodded. "They do. They've been studying us, trying to figure out why we're so aggressive. They thought we were a warrior species that only understood violence. And we thought they were dangerous predators that only understood force," Emma added. Both sides were wrong. An older shadow hunt approached the group. This one was even larger than the mother they had followed, with intricate patterns of silver and gold in its light stripes. "The clan leader," Dr. Yang whispered. "She wants to make a formal statement." The great cat made a long series of complex sounds. Her stripes pulsed with formal, ceremonial colors. Dr. Yang listened carefully and translated. "She says that humans have shown wisdom and kindness by helping the trapped cubs. She wants to offer formal relations between her people and ours." Emma felt tears in her eyes. This was the first peaceful first contact in this sector of the galaxy in decades. "She's offering to share their knowledge of the crystal networks," Dr. Yang continued. "They can be used for communication across vast distances. It could revolutionize galactic telecommunications." Commander Zex Thul stepped forward and spoke very quietly. "Please tell her that the Galactic Council would be honored to establish peaceful relations with the Shadow Hunt people." As Dr. Yang translated this, Emma watched the Shadow Hunts around the clearing. Their light stripes were glowing with warm, welcoming colors. Young ones played quietly near their parents, and adults shared food and groomed each other. They were not predators at all. They were people. Different from humans or mantids or any other galactic species. But people, nonetheless. "Dr. Clark," Commander Zex Thul said quietly, "I owe you an apology. Your approach was not weakness, it was wisdom." Emma smiled. "We all learned something today, Commander." As the day progressed, Emma watched Jake Morrison playing quietly with some of the younger Shadow Hunts, and Dr. Vorthak having his first successful conversation with an adult through Dr. Yang's translations. The mother, whose cubs they had saved, approached Emma one final time. She made a sound that needed no translation. It was clearly a thank you. Then she did something that Emma would remember for the rest of her life. The great cat very gently touched Emma's hand with her nose, the same way the smallest cub had done in the cave. It was a gesture of trust and friendship that crossed all species barriers. 6 months later, Emma stood in the Galactic Council chambers, delivering her report on the Shadow Hunt first contact. The Crystal Communication Network was already being tested across 3 star systems. Trade agreements were being negotiated. Cultural exchanges were planned. But what Emma remembered most was the moment she had knelt by that cave entrance and chosen to whisper instead of shout. Sometimes, she had learned, the gentlest voice carried the greatest power, and sometimes, the most important thing you could do was simply admit that your way might not be the only way, or even the best way. The galaxy was vast and full of different peoples with different ways of communicating. Understanding that was the first step toward true peace among the stars.